Control of information leads to control of perception, and control of perception leads to control of experience. That is how we got into this state of mass human control. And this whole system of control is about consuming our minds with complete freaking bollocks. And one of the reasons that they do not want people to have confirmation beyond question of extraterrestrial interactions with planet Earth is because imagine what would happen to human perception of possible, human perception of self-identity and reality if suddenly people realized beyond any doubt that there was extraterrestrial life out there. I look at the night sky personally every night and I go, I think there's a chance. Because what would happen? You'd be off in all directions. Postage stamp consensus would be dead and buried in a day. And that is the conveyor belt we are supposed to stay on from cradle to grave. What consumes your mind controls your life. And this whole system of control is about consuming our minds with complete freaking bollocks, which may explain why we have so often a world that syncs with that. So we come out of the womb, our parents who've been through the system we're about to go through start to influence our perceptions. In a very short time, we go to school and college or university, and the state postage stamp consensus is downloaded day after day after day after day after year after year after decade after decade. And then you go out of the world of school and you go into the world of work, and instead I must do what the teacher says becomes I must do what the boss says. And then you have a family and produce some other offspring that you start to program in the same way that you were. And then eventually you drop off the end, either into oblivion or into the recycling bin called reincarnation. And this is the whole point of that from the system's point of view. Ultimately, I suggest controlled by a non-human force. Get them in, get them confused, get them out, and get another lot in at the other end. It's a program. Control of information leads to control of perception, and control of perception leads to control of experience. And at the deeper levels of this construct of control, they absolutely know that, and that's why they work so hard with the postage stamp consensus to keep us from knowing that. And this is why we're seeing the concentration of information received by people now in the hands of these internet giants that are nothing more than fronts for the Pentagon and the intelligence networks. And that's why they're trawling all this information. Even people who are challenging it says, oh, it's because they want to make money from advertising. That's only one small level of it. They want data because they are fronts for this Pentagon intelligence machine. And the idea is to make sure they control, ultimately, in the end, all information that people receive. Shutting down the alternative media, in the end, even shutting down much of what we call the mainstream media. It's happening. Newspapers going out of business because of this. Because they know if they can control the information we receive and the information we don't receive, then they control us. So we are consciousness. Ultimately, infinite consciousness, expressions, points of attention of that consciousness interacting with itself. But everything changes if we realize that. No more fault lines to divide us of religion and income bracket and color and race, because we're all one consciousness having different experiences. We must be kept apart, we must be kept at war with each other, and thus we must identify with the labels that divide us. That's how it works. And you start them young. Start them young, get them for life. This is why the young are being targeted more than anyone else by this stuff that's going on now. Imprisoned by education, which is nothing more than a download of the system's version of reality that they want people to believe for their entire human experience. Get them to focus only on 5 sense reality. Don't let them ask questions and then test them in exams to make sure they've accepted the download. And if Johnny or Jane will not accept the download and start asking questions, it's, hello, yeah, it's Mrs. Brown, the headmistress. We've got a problem with Johnny and Jane. Yeah, what's that? They're asking questions. We can't allow it because they'll all want to do it. And this is why. You must accept the download. Study shows kids are born creative geniuses, but the education system destroys imagination, exactly what it's meant to do. It's a programming operation. And of course, people that go through the program, even young people, and accept it and download it, they then pressure others who don't want to download it, who see the world differently, as strange or mad, and they give them a hard time for the crime of being different. I've experienced it just a little bit. I don't care. Say what you bloody like. You'll be saying something else tomorrow, mate. You must believe what we do. We've given our minds away. We've given our perceptions away. Why should you have a mind of your own and think for yourself? Disgusting. We're imprisoned by conformity. Oh, you must conform. What will the neighbors think? Don't give a shit, mate. Imprisoned by surviving, getting through life. If you can force people or pressure people to have to serve your system to earn the money to survive, then you got them. And so the imprisonment really is imprisoned by perception, which means perceptual imprisonment by the postage stamp consensus. Something that we must start to unravel, because that is how we got into this state of mass human control. So here we are, living, experiencing in this vast, infinite forever of consciousness, of potentiality, of possibility, of limitlessness. But we perceive a tiny, tiny fraction of it. And anyone that goes outside of it and perceives differently is called mad, bad, or dangerous. And of course, this postage stamp consensus goes out from the educational institutions, because you pass exams by telling the postage stamp what it wants to hear, and you go off into the world of medicine and politics and the corporate world of journalism, of science, of academia, and you take with you that core programming of normal, that perception of how things are and self-identity. And these institutions are all peopled by those that come through that system. And they confirm to each other that that's how things are. Journalists don't go to alternative healers to talk about health. They go to a doctor who will give them the postage stamp version of medicine. They won't go to someone who studies reality with an open mind. They'll go to a scientist who will give them the Stone Age song sheet version of science. And so it's a self-perpetuating religion, because that's what it is. I mean, religion, people talk about religion, and on one level this is true. It's churches and mosques and synagogues and temples, and it's belief systems and Christianity and Hinduism and Judaism and Islam. But actually they're all the same, and they're only one level of religion, as I'll come to. But let's think about this. The scale to which humanity will allow itself to be programmed in its perception of reality. We are saying, many are accepting, that, although much of it they don't realize, that we are operating within a tiny sliver of 0.005% of the perceived energy, etc., that exists in the universe. And yet, what the religions say is all you need to know to live your life and understand the world and yourself is between the covers of a single book within a tiny sliver of 0.005%. Personally, I think there's probably more to know than that. I just feel it in my water. But the fact is that people do think that that's true. Why? Why do Muslim people born into Muslim families invariably become Muslims? Why do people born into Jewish families invariably become followers of Judaism? Why do people born into the southern states of America invariably become Christians? Begins with P, programming. It's all they've ever bloody heard. So their brain becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of belief and perception. And thus, clearly, as I've just explained, they will then in that state believe any bloody thing. And religion, like I say, is greater than just bricks and mortar and temples and churches. All these things are religions. This is the dictionary definition of religion. Scrupulous conformity, a system of belief held to with ardor and faith. On that basis, mainstream medicine is a religion. Academia and education is a religion. Politics is a religion. And science is a religion. They're all religions because they're all scrupulously conforming to a system of belief held with ardor and faith, and often no friggin' evidence. And so, politicians, let me tell you what we should do. Postage stamp minds telling us what we should do. I'm an academic, let me tell you what to believe. I'm a scientist, let me tell you what reality is. And the funniest one of all, I'm a journalist, let me tell you what's going on. I love it. They are all followers and priests in the postage stamp religion. If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. We've got to stop following the blind and start opening our eyes to what we see, not what they tell us to see. In the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Therefore, if you can get the target population to believe in this narrow band of postage stamp reality, while you understand how reality really works, you, although you're a few, are in a position of enormous power to control the people held in the headlights of the hoax. And all that I'm describing is what people ironically call living in the real world.
If you liked this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.